It is no longer speculation or conspiracy that Donald Trump is clearly covering up his cognitive and physical decline. For God's sakes, he's constantly covering his hands and his bruises and makeup, this orange sludge all over his body, and we're supposed to act like that they're not trying to hide something? They clearly are. The White House is doing anything to distract, to look over there, to, oh, it's all fine, including fake health reports, all of which were just blown up by a MAGA pundit. Yes, a MAGA host is telling us now that the White House is covering up Donald Trump's decline. It is not just that we can see he is losing his mind, but the White House and those around him are taking steps to hide it. We're going to get into it all and how Carolyn Leavitt is freaking out. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into this MAGA host admitting very clearly that the White House is in cover-up mode, I want to start with part of how this story really got going, and it is Donald Trump's attacks on Wes Moore and Wes Moore hitting back on Trump's health.
At the cost.
Let's talk about President Trump. Your criticism, jokingly sometimes, has really been sharper in the last few weeks. You've called him President Bone Spurs. Obviously, that is talking about his lack of service.
Well, I mean, listen, when the president wants to attack my military record, as someone who's actually a decorated combat veteran, as someone who actually has served overseas, as someone who has defended the country, I just think that if the president wants to have a real debate about public service and about a sacrifice for this country, he should really sit that debate out. I'm not the one he wants to have it with.
But is this the way that
Donald Trump is in no position to try to attack someone's military record? Donald Trump is in no position to try to attack someone's ability to govern or to lower crime in their state. Donald Trump has done nothing but release criminals, re-offending criminals, those January 6th cop-beating insurrectionists onto the streets. And this is why it's so funny that Wes Moore went right into troll mode, decided he was going to humiliate Donald Trump and say, hey man, if you think Baltimore's so bad, come take a walk with me. Not just because he knows Trump would say no, because he doesn't actually want to engage with this issue, but because he cannot walk. It is a fake tough guy act that is just as much of a part of Donald Trump's cover-up as his health as anything else. Just take a listen to what J.B. Pritzker had to say about it, and Carolyn Leavitt right here.
The president, and let's talk about the press secretary for the president, doesn't seem to understand that it's actually Republican states that have the crime problem. That of the 20 states that have the biggest crime problem, 13 of them are red states controlled by Republican governors. Why is he choosing? In fact, of those 20 states, we're at the bottom. Why is he choosing that over going after a red state that voted for him, rather than a blue state that didn't vote for him? We understand why. He is a partisan. He's somebody who believes in attacking people who didn't vote for him. You know, when you're president of the United States, just like when you're governor of the state of Illinois, you represent all the people after the election. Your job is to deliver for Republicans and Democrats alike. That's not what this president has done. Instead, he's attacking Democrats. He's attacking Democratic states. We're going to do our best to push back. I think I've been doing that loudly. Other Democratic governors and senators have been doing so. But I'm proud of this state. This president does not understand that we actually have a declining crime rate. In the city of Chicago, it's gone down.
I don't really like the idea of calling anything that this Trump administration does that is another step towards their authoritarian takeover a distraction. Even if it is not one of the top 2 or 3 issues, we should be paying attention to everything. But I do feel comfortable calling Donald Trump's takeover of D.C. a stunt. He doesn't actually care. He's not looking for results. This is not part of some long-term policy solution that's been thought out. This is a stunt. Now, of course, part of it is for Donald Trump to say that his masked goons are doing a great job in D.C., and then he needs to send them to black neighborhoods in Philly and Detroit and Atlanta and Milwaukee during the midterms to make sure he can suppress the vote as much as possible. Yes, that is part of the plan. But Donald Trump also wants to look strong right now and say that he's so tough with his National Guard, go stand with some cops, even though he doesn't back the blue, because of course, let's think back to those cop-beating insurrectionists that he pardoned. That's what Donald Trump wants. He wants the visual right now, because the visuals have been real bad, and it's part of the reason this MAGA host is now saying that Donald Trump and the White House are engaged in a cover-up. But first, let's take a look at some of these photos that led to that claim. Photos continue to come out of a hiding Trump looking absolutely decrepit, and we can see him waving in this photo. It looks like there might be a cut or a bandage on his hand. He's not caked up in his orange makeup. He looks red and pudgy and gross and melting down. And it is the reason that right-wing host Nick Fuentes said there is obviously something going on with Trump that the White House is covering up. This is literally Biden too. When you have right-wing hosts, not only, like Alex Jones did, saying that Donald Trump is looking bad, but the White House is actively covering it up, you can't come back from that. It is just another example of how every action that this administration takes to hide is only creating greater problems for them. They have an audience, a base full of conspiracy theorists. So if they think that they can just feed them slop red meat on this and attack Joe Biden again or try to say that they're going to arrest Hillary Clinton, it's just not going to work. They want answers to these questions. It's the same thing with Epstein, and it's why these stunts really aren't working as much as Donald Trump wants, especially because we have Democrats like J.B. Pritzker fighting back, and I want to hear more from him on just that.
Well, National Guard troops, any kind of troops on the streets of an American city don't belong unless there is an insurrection, unless there is truly an emergency. There is not.
Have you been briefed by anyone in the administration about these plans?
No one in the administration, the president or anybody under him, has called anyone in my administration and me, have not called the city of Chicago or anyone else. So it's clear that in secret they're planning this, well, it's an invasion with U.S. troops if they in fact do that. The other thing is, they ought to be coordinating with local law enforcement. They ought to let us know when they're coming, where they're coming, if it's ICE or if it's ATF or whoever it is. But they don't want to do that either. And I must say it's disruptive, it's dangerous, it tends to inflame passions on the ground when they don't let us know what their plans are and when we can't coordinate with them.
The president has had some things to say about the Windy City several times in recent days.
Next should be Chicago, because as you all know, Chicago's a killing field right now. Everybody knows Chicago is a hellhole right now. Everybody knows it.
He wakes up in the morning and whatever whim strikes him is what he apparently says. And recently, I guess I've been living rent-free in his head. Chicago apparently is living rent-free in his head, even though on other days he'll talk about Baltimore, or he'll talk about New York. Notice he never talks about where the most violent crime is occurring, which is in red states. Illinois is not even in the bottom half of states in terms of violent crime. But do you hear him talking about Florida, where he is now from? No, you don't hear him talking about that, or Texas. Their violent crime rates are much worse in other places, and we're very proud of the work that we've done, and we want more help. You know what kind of help we want? Civilian law enforcement help. We would like ATF agents to help us take more guns off the streets. We would like FBI, again, to coordinate with our local law enforcement to help catch perpetrators of crimes. If they would do that, we would welcome that, but that's not what they're planning to do.
So bottom line, would more federal agents in Chicago assisting local law enforcement help deter crime right now?
Of course. You want to help us catch bad guys? Bring the FBI. Bring the ATF. We already coordinate with them, by the way. We do a lot of work with them. We do drug interdiction. We do fighting gangs, and we do interdiction of guns at the borders.
Part of the reason I ask about the potential for federal deployments to help right now is that according to a CBS News data analysis of what's gone on in Washington just in the last few weeks, while crime there as well was down, and in most cases down double digits, it's down nearly 50% in the 3 weeks since the National Guard moved in. Assaults down 41%, homicides down 69%, robbery down 63%, and the mayor concedes carjacking, which would become a bigger problem, down 83% since the federal agents showed up. So this kind of deployment he's set up in Washington that he says he wants to do in other cities, at least in Washington, is showing potential success. And what I hear you saying is Well, sure, if they show up, it might help us too.
I'm saying we don't want troops on the streets of American cities.
Right.
That's un-American. And frankly, the President of the United States ought to know better. This one doesn't seem to. He hasn't read any books. He doesn't seem to understand the Constitution or the laws.
But if he just sends the FBI, the ATF, DEA,
yeah, they're here already.
and sends more of them.
We have some working with us now. Would love more help. You know what else he's doing? He's cutting funds that help us to fight violent crime from the federal government.
And give me an example of how those cuts have affected the ability to fight crime in Chicago.
So let me just tell you what happened in Illinois when we had a Republican governor and he cut funding for programs that help prevent crime. What happened was we saw a significant increase in crime. Donald Trump is now doing the same thing. He's taking away federal funding for those programs, which are so important to us. We've increased funding at the state level, but we need that federal funding. It's on top of that. One more thing. The business community in the city of Chicago got together and put $100 million forward to help us back in 2022, to help us to fight crime through these prevention programs. It's working. Crime is down. I mean, murders are down 50% in the city of Chicago. And you can go through every statistic. Almost everything is much better as a result of that work. Donald Trump is trying to take that money away, and he isn't listening to the business community here. He isn't listening to the clergy here. He isn't listening to people on the ground, Republicans here who understand that putting troops on the city of Chicago's streets is going to cause more problems than he understands.
What do you think it's going to do to the country if that happens? Deploying in Washington where he has federal control is one thing. But if he sends military forces into a major American city in a state that didn't ask for it, beyond Los Angeles, what do Americans make of that?
Well, they should understand that he has other aims other than fighting crime. That's the first thing they should understand. The second is it's an attack on the American people by the President of the United States. Now, he may disagree with a state that didn't vote for him, but should he be sending troops in? No.
You said he has other aims. What are the other aims?
The other aims are that he'd like to stop the elections in 2026 or, frankly, take control of those elections. He'll just claim that there's some problem with an election, and then he's got troops on the ground that can take control if, in fact, he's allowed to do this.
This is the type of fight that we need to be bringing, and this is how we have to address any conversation around crime. I know so many Democrats get so squeamish, but we have to make it clear that we're not doing the qualifying of, well, you know, we do care about crime and we think that it's a problem and we're going to, no, don't do that. Say, Donald Trump doesn't care about crime. This stunt is not about crime. These are the ways that I've actually worked to solve this issue because I care about policy. Donald Trump does not. He wants to build a ballroom, fill the Oval Office with gold and destroy the Rose Garden. And other than that, he's happy to let Stephen Miller take the reins in destroying this country. Make that very clear. We're going to continue to do so on this show every single day, and if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Until next time, I'll see you soon.